platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ananya Datta and I'm back with another edition of Race to Power. Here's what we have lined up for you. Everyone's eyes have already shifted to New Hampshire, a state primary that might have many surprises in store. We will tell you why Nikki Haley is more worried than Donald Trump. In India, election season has also welcomed a season of party hopping. Ahead of the crucial election, one man is celebrating his homecoming to the National Congress Party after 9 long years. Now, our top focus today is from the United States, where Republican candidates are gearing up for their first primary vote. On January 23rd, voters in New Hampshire will weigh in what appears to be a rather settled field to cement his stance further. Former President Donald Trump rallied supporters in the sports mouth.
We have to win. We have to win in November, but we have to win coming up. Think of it, next Tuesday, we have to win. And we have to win in a resounding fashion. I said they got so sick and tired of me. I started off by saying, listen, we're going to win, but you got to win by big numbers. If we're going to win like a close race, it doesn't set the example that we're here.
Meanwhile, Trump's competitor Ron DeSantis has all but abandoned the race in New Hampshire. The Florida governor is instead focusing on South Carolina. He hopes to pressure rival Nikki Haley in her home state. Remember, DeSantis faces exceptionally tough odds in New Hampshire, which has barely received any attention in his campaign. But he still held a rally in the state even as he relocates members of his staffers to South Carolina. DeSantis knocked Haley and Trump for refusing to participate in a debate by television station Vimur.
You have Biden, you have me, you have Trump, and you have Haley. I'm the only one that's not running a basement campaign. They won't even debate on the WMUR debate. Every single time we've had a New Hampshire primary, you do a debate with WMUR, or at least do some debate in New Hampshire. Donald Trump won't debate. He's not willing to defend his record. And Nikki Haley won't debate because she's not willing to defend her record. What does that say?
DeSantis' rally highlights the extent to which he's scrambling to recover his campaign after its big bet on Iowa failed to pay off. DeSantis spent a huge portion of his time and resources in the first Republican nominating contest, but came in a distant second to Trump. As the contest moves to New Hampshire, Trump remains ahead of both DeSantis and Haley by a wide margin. Polling averages show him with nearly 55% support in the deep South state, while Haley stands at almost 25% and DeSantis only at 12%. Mornings in court and evenings in rallies. This is how Republican frontrunner Donald Trump is spending his days. For the former president, who has marred in several legal troubles, this schedule might be becoming a good election strategy more than an obligation. In the last 24 hours, Trump again appeared in a New York court for a defamation trial, clashed with judges and then rushed to New Hampshire, where he addressed dozens of his supporters who braved the freezing temperatures to see him. Trump could have avoided his court appearance, where his attendance is not mandatory. The scene was similar on Monday, when fresh off a resounding victory in Iowa, Trump chose to attend his New York trial. He clarified that it was necessary to be there. He reached late for his first rally in the state, which is to host the first primary of the presidential race next week. But that did not stop supporters from showing greater sympathy and enthusiasm.
Those two great places, they got to go, and we just left Iowa. Now we're going to soon be leaving New Hampshire with a big victory, right?
As his court trials and campaigning will go hand in hand this whole week alone, Trump is expected to shuttle between New York and New Hampshire. As the civil trial and rallies will take place simultaneously, in this trial the jury is determining how much Trump owes E. Jean Carroll for defamation after her accusations of sexual harassment when he was the president. On the other hand, a federal trial in Washington on election charges is due to start in March, just a day before Super Tuesday, when 16 states and 1 U.S. territory will hold Republican nominating contests. Then, a New York state trial related to hush money payments is scheduled for May. Trump aims to have the Republican nomination wrapped up by then. Now, Singapore's transport minister resigned after being charged in a corruption probe that also involves a billionaire hotel tycoon. S. Isavaran was arrested in July of 2023 and released on bail in connection with a rare top-level graft investigation in the city-state. The 61-year-old lawmaker pleaded not guilty to the charges filed by the powerful Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau. Now, Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong said that Isavaran resigned from the government, parliament and ruling People's Action Party after the Thursday hearing. Isvaran has also promised to return the money he received as salary and allowances since his arrest. Most of the charges against Isvaran relates to corruption, but he also faces a charge of obstruction of justice. Now, Isvaran is also alleged to have accepted tickets to high-profile sporting events and stage shows from hotel tycoon Ong Beng Seng. Ong is the managing director of Hotel Properties Limited and was arrested the same day as Isvaran in 2023 and released on bail. Ong is credited with helping bring the Formula One Grand Prix to Singapore in 2008. The graft investigation has shocked Singapore. The global financial hub is reputed to be among the least corrupt countries in the world. Cabinet ministers are paid salaries comparable to the top earners in the private sector to deter corruption. The alleged offences date back as far as 2015. Questions remain over why the scandal was not uncovered sooner and whether the transparency and public reporting in the Singapore system is sufficient. Prime Minister Lee has faced criticism over an alleged lack of transparency on how the government handled the scandals. Questions were also raised over whether the standards set by the party's founding leaders have been eroded. The scandals come as the party that has ruled uninterrupted for 64 long years bounced back from its worst ever election result in 2020. Now, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has survived his biggest source of distress ahead of the general elections, a revolt by the Conservative Party over his controversial Rwanda bill. Sunak hopes that the new policy will boost his 2024 bid and help him fulfill his Stop the Boats pledge. But victory is still a step away, as the legislation could still be held up by the House of Lords. Here's a report.
The House of Commons has spoken, the Conservative Party has come together, the Rwanda bill has passed. It's now time for the Lords to pass this bill too. This is an urgent national priority. There is now only one question. Will the opposition in the appointed House of Lords try and frustrate the will of the people as expressed by the elected House, or will they get on board and do the right thing? It's as simple as that.
Of Britain's Parliament on Wednesday passed Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's controversial Rwanda scheme, which would allow Britain to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. Sunak's victory was costly, though, with his authority weakened and divisions in his party exposed.
The ayes to the right, 320. The noes to the left, 276. The ayes have it, the ayes have it. Look!
In a nutshell, the bill aims to override a decision by the UK Supreme Court in November that declares it unlawful to send asylum seekers to the East African country. Sunak has made stopping asylum seekers crossing over from France in small boats a central aim of his government. He defended his goals on Wednesday during a question and answer before the vote.
It is important that we stop the boats because illegal migration is simply not fair, Mr. Speaker. It's not right that some people jump the queue, that they take away our resources to help those who are the most compassionate, that need our most help.
In the past 2 days, Conservative Party rebels voiced their opposition to the bill and expressed fury at what they saw as Sunak's disregard for their concerns. Right-wing critics say the bill doesn't go far enough and that there are loopholes which will be seized upon by asylum seekers to stop their deportation. Britain's former immigration chief, Robert Jenrick.
We have to get people out of the country within days, not months. And the operational plan behind this bill foresees that people will take months to be removed from the country. So what will happen is that our detained capacity will be filled. People will then be bailed to hotels. They will then abscond and never be seen again.
In the end, only 11 of Tuesday's almost 60 rebels voted against the bill. Some worried that if they did not back it, they could inadvertently collapse the government. Yvette Cooper, Shadow Home Secretary from the opposition Labour Party, spoke after the vote.
Former Tory cabinet ministers, deputy chairs from all sides queuing up to tell us it's a bad bill, it won't work, it won't protect our borders, it won't comply with international law, it's fatally flawed. The only thing the Tories all seem to agree on is that the scheme is failing, the law won't solve it, and the Prime Minister is failing too, and they know it.
The Rwanda legislation will head to Parliament's House of Lords next, where it could face stumbling blocks. While Sunak has promised that deportations would begin in spring this year, it is not clear when exactly those flights would begin. Last month, British media also reported that the government was struggling to find airlines which would agree to provide flights to take the asylum seekers to Rwanda.
Now, in other news, Northern Ireland is witnessing one of its biggest strikes in 50 long years. More than 100,000 public sector workers are staging a walkout. 16 trade unions are involved in coordinated actions in a dispute over pay and working conditions. Now, Northern Ireland came to a halt as teachers, nurses, bus and train drivers, police staffers, as well as civil servants took to the picketing lines. Parades and rallies are being held in towns and cities. The strike hugely affected bus and train services while schools were closed. The strike did disrupt health services as well, with all but emergency procedures being cancelled. Unions say that Northern Ireland has not matched the wage increases received by their counterparts, the United Kingdom, in recent years. Now, this, combined with the cost of living crisis and the ongoing political crisis, has led to a series of strikes in education, healthcare, transport and other public sectors in the last few months. Meanwhile, the UK government has offered a financial package if devolution is restored that would include provisions on pay. Now, ahead of the Russian presidential elections in March, over 2 million Russians signed in their support for President Vladimir Putin's candidacy. According to the Russian law, independent candidates must gather 300,000 signatures from at least 40 regions to get on the ballot. Putin is a self-nominated candidate and has already collected 2.5 million signatures. That is a million more than 2018. Putin also visited his campaign headquarters in Moscow, where he saw the signature verification process and spoke to volunteers.
We all have a common goal, strengthening of the motherland. I am very pleased that I see in you such powerful support of younger generations. Thank you very much, both you and all the volunteers who work for this common goal, especially to those guys who are now on the front line or next to it, helping our fighters. Thank you very much.
Earlier, the Election Commission approved 3 candidates nominated by parties represented in Parliament. Party candidates are not required to collect signatures. The current candidates don't pose a major challenge to Putin, who has dominated Russian politics since becoming president in the year 2000. In the last 24 years, Putin has kept a tight control on politics, making his re-election a foregone conclusion in March. Now, India is set to hold world's largest election exercise in less than 3 months from now. The political landscape is heating up as the polls come close. Since India is a multi-party democracy, political heavyweights are often quoted by various political parties. And that trend is once again on display with the rise in the number of turncoats. Starting with the eastern state of Odisha, where former Chief Minister and 9-time Member of Parliament Girdhar Gamang has returned to the Indian National Congress. The reunion comes 9 years after he resigned from the party. The veteran tribal leader Gamang joined the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party in the year 2015, 1 month after he quit the Congress. In January last year, he left the BJP citing humiliation and joined neighbouring Telangana's Bharat Rashtra Samiti. Sensing no future in the BRS, Gamang has now returned to the Congress, along with his wife Hema Gamang and his son Shishir Gamang. The timing is important as it comes right ahead of national and Odisha's assembly polls that are due this year. 80-year-old Girdhar Gamang had spent more than 4 decades in Congress. Asked whether he would be contesting in the upcoming polls, Gamang said that he would accept whatever responsibility would be given to him by the party. Reports say that the Gamang family has been assured by the Congress of at least 2 tickets in the polls slated for April-May. Gamang caught national spotlight back in 1999. His controversial vote during a no-confidence motion led to the fall of the 13-month-old National Democratic Alliance government led by former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The Vajpayee government had lost the motion by just 1 vote. Earlier this month, another potential political heavyweight turned coats to join the Congress party. Y.S. Sharmila, the sister of incumbent Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy, merged her YSR Telangana party with the Congress. Sharmila has been appointed as Congress's Andhra State Unit Chief ahead of state and National Assembly elections. Apart from these gains, the exodus of leaders close to Congress Rahul Gandhi also continues. Just this week, Congress leader from Maharashtra and former Union Minister Milind Deora joined the Shinde faction of Shiv Sena. The Shinde faction of Shiv Sena is part of the National Democratic Alliance led by the Bharatiya Janata Party at the centre. Now, experts believe that these turncoats are often quoted by parties to disrupt the organizational prowess of their rivals and to send out a message to voters that the wind is blowing in their direction. Now, Indonesia is voting in presidential elections on February 14th. Pre-poll surveys so far have given a commanding lead to presidential candidate and Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto. But just a few weeks ahead of election, his popularity seems to be stagnating. Latest opinion polls say a second round runoff is likely in June. An indicator politics survey shows that despite a huge 20-point lead, Defence Minister Prabowo is no closer to over 50% of the vote that is required to be won in a single round. The poll conducted between December 30th to January 6th gave him a support of 45.8% of the 1,200 respondents. 25.5% backed former Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan. 23% respondents chose the ruling parties, Ganjar Pranowo. If no candidate secures votes from over half of the 205 million eligible voters, a runoff will be held on June 26th. 72-year-old Prabowo is contesting his third successive presidential election. He lost the presidential bid in 2014 and 2019 to the hugely popular incumbent Joko Widodo, who cannot seek a third term. In a move to tap into his former rival's support base, in October, Prabowo picked Jokowi's 36-year-old son, Gibran Rakabuming. Now, Raka as his running mate and rose rapidly in the polls. Meanwhile, the recent rise in popularity for Anies, an academic and a former education minister, follows strong performances in recent election debates. He is also gaining traction in the key battleground province of East Java. Voter turnout will be a key in determining if the vote goes to a second round. Now, founded largely as a joke, Austria's beer party has plans to contest this year's parliamentary elections. Established in 2015, the party is known for its light-hearted projects, but it has also taken serious swipes at the political establishment, especially people embroiled in corruption and other scandals. The party has campaigned equally on frivolous issues like installing public beer fountains in Vienna, also serious ones like improving the public health system. In the last parliamentary election in 2019, it secured just 0.1% of the vote. To enter parliament, a party needs at least 4% of the vote. A 37-year-old Dr. Dominic Lasny leads the party. A rock musician, he goes by the stage name Marco Pogo. Now, Lasny came third in 2022's presidential election with 8.3 votes, outlining issues including reducing child poverty, equality of opportunity and the surging cost of living. The beer party chief said that his party can make a positive contribution in the parliament. But whether the party actually enters the race will depend on its gathering enough funds. The party plans to increase its membership to 20,000 by April end, from around 1,300 active members in 2023. The party has been particularly critical of the far-right Freedom Party that is currently leading in the polls. And with that, we are wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching with me, Ananya Datta. Goodbye.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
How do we imagine the future when on certain mornings we can hardly imagine the afternoon? And today on Trailblazers, Mayor Nosh from Godrej